Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to your own YouTube channel, that is exaMnorM, and I welcome you all in your favorite session. We call it as Finance Norm. So in today's session, we will be discussing the finance current affairs for 10th and 11th of March 2026. And if you have checked the RBI website, then many updates have been given by RBI on 10th of March. So out of those different updates which have been given by RBI on 10th of March, I will be discussing one of the most important circular which has been presented by RBI, and a direct question is expected for sure in your examination from the same. So before I start with the discussion, एक बार जल्दी से comment section में reply कर दीजिए that everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. I'll just check that whether my voice is clear or not. And if everything is fine, I will just look forward for your approval, guys, that everything is good so that we can begin. एक बार जल्दी से give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't shared the link of this session, do inform your friends that yes, this session is live. And I think I have also not updated the link of this session on the Telegram channel. So let's quickly, collectively share this link. I'm also sharing the link with my students. You also do the same so that more and more students they can join. आज का सेशन काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है. 40-45 मिनट में हम एक ऐसा RBI सर्कुलर पढ़ने वाले जिसके एग्जामिनेशन में आने की possibility बहुत ज़्यादा. The possibility that this question will be asked in the examination is very high. So I request you to be with me, and I'm pretty sure you are going to enjoy the discussion for sure. ठीक है जी, start करें. Shall we begin the discussion? Okay. As you all know, first of all, we'll quickly discuss the questions which I have given you as a homework in the previous session. And if I discuss those questions, the first one we have is, with reference to the functions and objectives of FATF, consider the following statement. Sir, FATF is an intergovernmental body that sets global standards to combat money laundering, terrorist financing, as well as proliferation financing. That is true. Absolutely correct. FATF conducts mutual evaluations to assess how well the country is performing in terms of anti-money laundering norms, counter-terrorism financing and whatnot. So this is also correct. Nothing harm in this. ये भी सही है. अगला, FATF also works on the emerging risks such as virtual assets, cyber-enabled frauds and digital financial crimes. Is it true? Is it true, guys? Is it true? Yes, sir, this is also true. This has been clearly mentioned in the previous session. Countries which are listed by FATF automatically lose their membership in international financial institutions such as IMF. No, that's not the case. IMF alag hai, World Bank alag hai, FATF alag hai. FATF works with the regional bodies like FATF style regional bodies to monitor the compliance globally. That is correct. तो इसके हिसाब से अगर हम चले तो 1, 2, 3 and 5, which means B option is correct, but the fourth statement is wrong. हाँ, अगर आप blacklist में हैं तो उस केस में you won't be allowed from the international organizations, the multilateral organizations are not allowed to provide loan to those countries which are in the blacklist. The next question. Consider the following statement regarding the regulatory reporting and institutional rules in the alternative investment fund ecosystem. Alternative investment fund ecosystem में कुछ important aspects हैं which can be asked in your examination. Please pay attention. The first one, the regulatory requirement for reporting by alternative investment funds arise from the regulation 28 of SEBI regulations 2012. Is it correct? अब आप कहोगे कि सर ऐसा question? Yes, these kind of questions are also asked. जब आपके examiner उस किसी question को बहुत tough बनाते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं ये regulations, कहीं ना कहीं ये sections include किए जाते हैं. Why? I have included these sections for you because alternative investment funds has been in news from past 12 months, some or the other way. तो alternative investment fund अगर इतना ज़्यादा news में है तो उस केस पे RBI अगर चाहे तो एक difficult, एक static oriented question भी frame कर सकता है. So keeping that in mind, I have created this for you. The authority to issue such circulars is derived from section 11. तो भैया ये जो power है SEBI के पास, this power has been given to SEBI as per the SEBI Act 1992 के section 11. That is correct. Next point says the reporting formats are periodically reviewed by industry association or standard setting forums in consultation with Security and Exchange Board of India. That is correct. The frequency of reporting was increased based on recommendation of working group on ease of doing business. अब पॉइंट ये है कि सर क्या फ्रीक्वेंसी को इंक्रीज किया गया? नहीं, पहले फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या थी? क्वार्टरली। आज भी फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या है? क्वार्टरली, लेकिन क्वार्टरली के साथ साथ एनुअल रिपोर्टिंग को ऐड कर दिया। और ये जो आपकी क्वार्टरली रिपोर्टिंग है, इट हैज मेड इजी, इट हैज बीन मेड इजी। क्वार्टरली रिपोर्टिंग पे जो इतना ज्यादा आप कहो कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस का टाइम और रिसोर्सेस इन्वेस्ट हो रहे थे, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट अब कम हो गया। The circular supersedes earlier circular which was introduced back in 2024, that is correct। तो उसके हिसाब से अगर हम देखें तो बी ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट। फ्रीक्वेंसी को इंक्रीज नहीं किया गया, पहले भी क्वार्टरली था। हाँ, अगर क्वार्टरली से मंथली कर दिया जाता देन वी वुड हैव यूज्ड द टर्म दैट इट हैज बीन इंक्रीज्ड। समझ आई ये बात? क्लियर हो गया ये पॉइंट? इफ इट इज क्लियर जस्ट गिव मी यस सर। इफ यू वांट मी टू स्टार्ट विद द डिस्कशन, क्विकली टाइप यस सर इन द कमेंट सेक्शन सो दैट वी कैन बिगिन। आज का जो हमारा डिस्कशन है related to the RBI norm, or I would say related to the RBI circular, that is targeting only one area, that is the prudential updates which have been given with respect to commercial banks। तो commercial banks के जो डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस है, उन डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस में से एक ऑपरेशन के ऊपर कुछ चेंजेस किए गए हैं। सर, दो द प्रोसेस वाज सिंप्लीफाइड बट द फ्रीक्वेंसी वाज इंक्रीज, अर्लियर इट वाज क्वार्टरली। नहीं, इंक्रीज का मतलब होता है क्वार्टरली से मंथली। क्वार्टरली से मंथली होता तो इंक्रीज हो जाता, क्वार्टरली को क्वार्टरली रखा गया, इसलिए वर्ड इंक्रीज नहीं किया जा सकता। दिस इंक्रीज इज नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ नंबर, इट इज इन टर्म्स ऑफ फ्रीक्वेंसी। तो फ्रीक्वेंसी क्वार्टरली से अगर कम होगी तो नंबर ऑफ रिपोर्ट्स मंथली बेसिस पे आएंगे। दैट इज अ पॉइंट। ठीक है जी, इज इट क्लियर नाउ? इज इट क्लियर नाउ? ओके, सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड विद द डिस्कशन। तो आज का जो हमारा डिस्कशन है दैट इज बेसिकली कमर्शियल बैंक्स prudential norms on the declaration of dividend and remittance of profit directions। तो इसमें कुछ कुछ concepts हैं which obviously I would like to discuss with you the way I always do। तो सबसे पहली चीज, whenever we talk about a company, अगर हम किसी भी कंपनी के बारे में बात करते हैं, we know this very well, that's how we कंपनी का प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेशन कैसे होगा। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी टॉक अबाउट द कंपनीज रेवेन्यू। आउट ऑफ द कंपनीज रेवेन्यू वी सबट्रैक्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड। तो उसके बाद जो हमारे पास बचेगा वी कॉल इट एज ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट। सो आउट ऑफ द ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट वी इवन सबट्रैक्ट द ऑपरेशनल एक्सपेंडिचर, एंड आफ्टर subtracting the operational expenditure we get profit before interest, tax and depreciation. Now we will subtract the interest paid by the company on the loan borrowed as well as the depreciation of the assets. Then we receive a term, we call it as profit before tax. Then we subtract the corporate tax on the company and we receive a term that is profit after tax. Actually ये जो profit after tax है, this profit after tax is also termed as net profit. It is also termed as net profit, and when this net profit is distributed to its shareholders, if it is distributed to its shareholders, so the amount which is received by the shareholders, we call it as what? So we call it as dividend. तो अगर हमसे कोई पूछेगा कि what is a dividend, what is a dividend, dividend basically means the profit you are receiving against your investment which you have done in a company as a shareholder. तो अगर आपने कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया एज अ शेयर होल्डर और उस कंपनी ने जो प्रॉफिट कमाया, तो कंपनी अपने प्रॉफिट बकेट में से कुछ पार्ट ऑफ प्रॉफिट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेगी, कुछ पार्ट ऑफ प्रॉफिट शेयर करेगी with whom? So some part of profit will be shared with the shareholder depending upon your investment, depending upon your shareholding. We call it as dividend. अब पॉइंट ये है कि सर बैंक जो प्रॉफिट कमाएगा उस प्रॉफिट का कुछ हिस्सा बैंक विल बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग टू इट्स शेयर होल्डर्स। अब वो डिविडेंड कैलकुलेशन कैसे होगी, कितना पैसा डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया जाएगा, उन सारी चीजों पे बात आज की जाएगी। अब आप मेरे को सोच के बताओ दैट इफ यू आर रनिंग अ कंपनी then it's quite obvious ना कि सर profit after tax should be 100%. Profit after tax should be 100% distributed to its shareholders. कि भैया जो प्रॉफिट है वो एक्चुअली किसका प्रॉफिट है? कंपनी का प्रॉफिट, ओनर्स का प्रॉफिट, एंड शुड बी गिवन टू द शेयर होल्डर्स. बट दिस डू नॉट हैपन इन द practical, or this do not happen on the practical grounds. Why do not happens on the practical ground? Because ये जो PAT है, this PAT basically certain part of the PAT is holded by the company as reserves. Certain part is holded by the company as reserve, and rest of the part is distributed to the shareholders as dividend payout. Now the question is कितना payout करना है, क्यों payout करना है, what is the logic behind this payout, वो कितना होगा उसकी कैलकुलेशन से रिलेटेड आरबीआई ने कुछ चेंजेस किए, एंड आरबीआई सेइंग दैट इफ यू आर रनिंग अ बैंक, in case of a bank, you are not allowed to distribute your entire profit after tax. You are not allowed to distribute your entire profit after tax to the shareholders. You must maintain certain reserves. और अगर आप reserves maintain करेंगे, what will happen? So this will enhance your capital. This will enhance your capital, and if your capital is enhanced, it will help you to achieve the capital adequacy ratios. It will help you to achieve the targets you have under buffers like we have capital conservation buffer, we have counter cyclical capital buffer. तो उन buffers को maintain करने में भी ये capital आपकी मदद करेगा. So RBI saying we are not asking you to distribute 100% of your dividend. तो पूरी story क्या है? Let's talk about this entire story one by one, slowly and slowly, and I'm pretty sure आज आपको एक एक चीज समझ आएगी. बस you have to stay with me till the end of this session. Are you guys ready? Stage set हो गया what we are going to study? If it is clear and you want me to start with the discussion, एक बार yes sir type कर दो so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. Quickly, I'm checking out your comments in the comment section. May I have yes sir in the comment section so that we can begin. And I promise you, जितना ये difficult circular है, उतना ही मैंने easy words में, उतना ही easy English में मैं कहूँगा कि मैंने इसे present किया आपके लिए so that you can understand it for sure. But only if you are ready, let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Okay. तो सबसे पहली चीज, क्या सर पहले banks, earlier banks, they were earning the profits and they were distributing the profits to their shareholders, that is dividend. So this is not the first time that RBI has given the rules. The rules were already existing. Rather, RBI has repealed. RBI ने क्या कहा? खारिज कर दिया. जो पहले के rules थे, those rules have been repealed and they have been replaced by new rules, and we call these new rules as 2026 rules. Let's try to check it out. तो पूरी story क्या है? Reserve Bank of India, commercial bank prudential norms on the declaration of dividend and remittance of profit directions 2026. Basically it explains that earlier regulatory framework governing dividend distribution and profit remittance by the bank has been replaced with the new updated set of rule which will be applicable from the upcoming financial year, that is 2026-27. ठीक है. अब बेसिक मीनिंग क्या है स्टोरी का? द बेसिक मीनिंग इज आरबीआई स्टेटेड दैट keeping in mind the public interest, we are cancelling the earlier rules which have been issued in November, on the basis of which banks, they can declare the dividend and they can remit the profits. Therefore, RBI has formally repealed 2025 directions and replaced them with new 2026 direction which apply from financial year 2026-27 onwards. So remember that these directions will apply on 2026-27 फाइनेंशियल ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स. इन सिंपल वर्ड्स ये है कि 2025 में जो डायरेक्शंस थी जिसकी बेसिस पे बैंक यूज्ड टू कैलकुलेट द डिविडेंड, दैट हैज बीन रिप्लेस्ड एंड इट विल बी रिप्लेस्ड फ्रॉम द अपकमिंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2026-27. ये न्यू रूल्स क्यों लाए गए? द लॉजिक बिहाइंड इंट्रोड्यूसिंग द न्यू रूल इज बेसिकली टू इंप्रूव द फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी इन द बैंकिंग सेक्टर. To improve the financial stability in the banking sector. अब इनमें अगर हम चेंजेस की बात करें, पहला, regulatory bodies like RBI, they periodically update the regulations, we know that. So this has been done as change in the banking sector condition because we have recorded high profits earned by the public sector banks as well as private banks in the past 2 financial years. तो RBI ने देखा कि भैया banks अच्छा खासा profit कमा रहे हैं, and if the entire profit is being distributed, to the shareholders only, then obviously the funds in the hands of the bank, the reserves of the bank will fall down. Bank may not be able to achieve its capital adequacy ratios, or if bank is doing well, bank is earning well, then we should increase their reserves, which will help them to fight against, which will help them to stand strong during the stress period. तो इस लॉजिक के साथ आरबीआई ने नए नॉर्म्स को इंट्रोड्यूस किया in order to improve the prudential standards, lessons from the supervisory experience as well as the global regulatory developments. So by issuing 2026 direction, RBI ensure that bank distribute profits to its shareholders without weakening their capital buffers. कि ऐसा नहीं कि भैया सारा पैसा बांट दिया, बाद में पता चला कि आपकी जो कैपिटल बफर रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, चाहे कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी है, चाहे काउंटर साइक्लिकल कंजर्वेशन बफर है, या फिर काउंटर साइक्लिकल कैपिटल बफर है, या फिर कंजर्वेशन कैपिटल बफर है, उसको अगर आप मेंटेन नहीं कर पा रहे तो क्या पॉइंट है कि भैया आपने शेयर होल्डर्स को सारा पैसा बांट दिया, उसका क्या फायदा, उसके पीछे क्या लॉजिक। तो उस लॉजिक को क्लियर करने के लिए दिस इनिशिएटिव हैज बीन टेकन। अगला पॉइंट क्या कहता है? अगला पॉइंट कहता है कि सर ये जो रिपील वर्ड है इसका मतलब क्या? मैंने कहा कैंसिल, लेकिन कैंसिल का मतलब थोड़ा सा टेक्निकली डिफरेंट होता है, वो समझना क्या डिफरेंस है, प्लीज पे अटेंशन। सबसे पहली चीज, रिपील सिंपली मींस प्रीवियस रेगुलेशन इज ऑफिशियली कैंसल्ड और विड्रॉन। जैसा कि मैंने आपको कहा कि द प्रीवियस जो भी थी आपकी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस, दे हैव बीन कैंसल्ड एंड दे हैव बीन रिप्लेस्ड बाय द न्यू वंस। लेकिन इट्स नॉट सो सिंपल, इट्स नॉट सो सिंपल। बाय व्हाई? हाउएवर द रिपील डज नॉट इरेज पास्ट एक्शंस टेकन अंडर द ओल्ड रूल्स। इसका मतलब जो भी एक्शंस पिछले रूल्स के अंडर लिए गए हैं, दे हैव नॉट बीन रिप्लेस्ड, दे विल नॉट बी cancelled. Those actions, those laws, those announcements will stand as it is. So the notification clearly states that any action already taken under 2025 directions remain valid. Any approval granted remain valid. Any legal proceedings or penalties or investigation which has been initiated under the earlier rule, they will also remain valid. ऐसा नहीं कि भैया नया लॉ आ गया तो पुराने लॉ ने जो भी काम किया वो सब जीरो हो गया, नहीं, that is not the case. तो जो नोटिफिकेशन, इट ऑल्सो क्लियर्स दैट कॉन्टिन्यूटी ऑफ द रेगुलेटरी एक्शंस। तो एक तो आपने जो पहले एक्शंस लिए हैं उन एक्शंस में क्या क्या चीजें कंटिन्यू होंगी। सबसे पहली चीज, एनी पेनल्टी इम्पोज्ड अर्लियर इट विल रिमेन वैलिड। अगर मान लो कि आपका जो पेनल्टी पेमेंट डेट है दैट इज लेट्स से 15th of April, बट नाउ यू से कि भैया अब तो मैं पेनल्टी बनती नहीं है। व्हाई? बिकॉज आई हैव सीन दैट आरबीआई हैज कम अप विद द न्यू रूल्स। आरबीआई ने क्लैरिफाई कर दिया न्यू रूल्स आ गए, बट इफ यू हैव बीन इंक्लूडेड एंड यू हैव बीन आस्क्ड टू पे द पेनल्टी एज पर द प्रीवियस रूल, यू विल बी पेइंग इट, देयर इज नो चेंज विद दैट। एनी इन्वेस्टिगेशन व्हिच इज गोइंग दैट विल कंटिन्यू। एनी लीगल ऑब्लिगेशन और लायबिलिटी व्हिच हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड ऑन एनी प्रीवियस on any organization which is existing, it will still stand as it is. So ultimately objective है to maintain stability in the banking system. उसके लिए 25 की जो डायरेक्शंस है it has been replaced by 2026. तो नवंबर 2025 की डायरेक्शन को 2026 की डायरेक्शंस के साथ रिप्लेस कर दिया गया है। कहानी क्लियर होगी जी? यहां तक किसी को कोई डाउट? क्या है स्टोरी वो भी क्लियर हो गया। अब अगर आप मुझे अलाउ करोगे देन आई विल बी स्टार्टिंग, इफ यू विल अलाउ मी गाइस, देन आई विल बी स्टार्टिंग विद द न्यू रूल व्हिच हैज बीन पास्ड। उस न्यू रूल में क्या क्या चीजें इंट्रोड्यूस हुई हैं, किस बेसिस पे इंट्रोड्यूस हुई हैं। इफ यू गाइस विल अलाउ मी देन आई विल मूव अहेड, बट इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट यू मे आस्क प्लीज। इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट यू मे आस्क प्लीज, अदरवाइज आई विल बी मूविंग अहेड। गिव मी यस सर so that we can move ahead। तो अगली बार जब ये वर्ड रिपील आएगा तो आप समझ पाओगे असल में इसका मतलब क्या है। अगली बार जब आप ये सोचोगे कि आरबीआई ने ऐसा क्यों किया, वो भी आप समझ पाओगे कि क्या रीजन था, व्हाट वाज द लॉजिक बिहाइंड डूइंग दिस। ठीक है, इफ यू हैवंट हिट द लाइक बटन येट, आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट यू क्विकली हिट द लाइक बटन। इफ यू हैवंट शेयर्ड द सेशन, डू शेयर द सेशन विद योर फ्रेंड्स। नाउ लेट्स target the current introduction which has been done. So the current laws which has been introduced by RBI, these laws have been introduced under Banking Regulation Act 1949. We all know that RBI is the regulator of banking sector and this power is given to RBI under Banking Regulation Act. So using the same law as per section 35A of Banking Regulation Act 1949, RBI has taken this decision. So RBI का ये decision क्या है? Sir, RBI कहता है कि ये जो section 35 है of Banking Regulation Act, it gives me the power, it gives RBI the power to take decisions, to frame laws, rules and regulations for the banks and the other regulated entities of RBI with the motive of public interest. For example, Banking Ombudsman is an initiative taken by RBI. It's again an initiative taken by RBI for public interest. तो अगर पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट के लिए एक इनिशिएटिव लिया गया आरबीआई द्वारा, तो आरबीआई ने कहा वो इनिशिएटिव भी कौन से सेक्शन के अंडर लिया गया, दैट इज सेक्शन 35। सो ये जो सेक्शन है, प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस, इट विल कम into your way n number of times before you sit for your final examination. So this section allows RBI to issue binding instructions to the bank in public interest or to maintain financial stability. So through this notification, RBI is responsible to set the rules that banks must follow before paying the dividend to the shareholder, or if you are a foreign bank and the foreign bank has opened up a branch in India and that branch is earning profit, so that profit which a foreign branches operating in India are earning, they will be remitting that profit to their head office back in the other nation. But वो remittance कितना होगा, कैसे होगा, उसके लिए ये conditions दी गई है. So the purpose बड़ा simple है, the bank do not distribute excessive profit which may weaken their financial strength or capital position. तो इस लॉ को लाने के पीछे एक सिंपल सा रूल है कि भैया आप डिविडेंड आप प्रॉफिट कमा रहे हो, वेरी गुड, यू विल बी शेयरिंग दिस प्रॉफिट, वेरी गुड, दैट इज ऑल्सो डन, दैट इज नीड टू बी डन, बट वो प्रॉफिट उतना ही शेयर करो जिससे आपका एग्जिस्टेंस क्वेश्चनेबल ना हो, सो दैट योर एग्जिस्टेंस इज नॉट क्वेश्चनेबल. और ये रूल्स कब से अप्लाई होंगे? सो दीज विल अप्लाई फ्रॉम द फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2026-27. नाउ यू मस्ट बी वंडरिंग कि सर पहले तो आप बताते हो 1 जुलाई, 1 अप्रैल, 1 मई, नाउ यू आर सेइंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर, बिकॉज द रीजन इज सर इट इज द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड वी नो दैट प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेशन विल बी डन for the financial year. So the moment financial year calculation will be done, profit calculation for 2026-27, then while deciding the dividend payout, this law will be taken into consideration. This law will be taken into consideration. बोलो समझ आई बात? अरे बोले यार, क्लियर हुआ? जग सुना सुना तो नहीं है ना, मजा आ रहा है, चीजें क्लियर हो रही हैं? एक बार बता दो so that I can move ahead. एक बार बता दो so that I can move ahead. अगला पॉइंट है कि सर ये जो आप लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं, ये जो आप रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस की बात कर रहे हैं, दीज रूल्स, दीज लॉज, दीज रेगुलेशंस आर वैलिड ऑन विच ऑल बैंक्स? सो इन्होंने कहा दीज लॉज, दीज रूल्स आर वैलिड ऑन द बैंकिंग कंपनीज as well as the new banks which have been set up. It is valid on State Bank of India. It is valid on the foreign banks which are operating in India through branches. Now you must be wondering कि sir ये क्या है? See, foreign banks can operate in India through two different channels. One is they just open up the branch in India and their branches are operating as per RBI norms. Second is they open up wholly owned subsidiary in India, and then that wholly owned subsidiary which has been opened up in India, that will be setting up its banking operations. तो ये वाला part इसके अंदर included नहीं है. Only the foreign banks which has opened up direct branches after the approval from RBI, on those foreign banks these laws are going to be applicable. But these laws are not applicable on small finance bank, local area banks, payment banks, as well as regional rural banks. Clear हो गई बात? So technically speaking, it is applicable on public sector banks, private banks, as well as foreign banks which are operating their branches in the country. अब इसमें कुछ definitions हैं, कुछ points हैं, कुछ definitions हैं जो आपको पता होनी चाहिए. Rather than reading these definitions right away, I will be reading these definitions, I will be explaining you these definitions whenever they will be referred in the notification, whenever they will be referred in my discussion. सही है ना? मैं अभी आपको पढ़ा दूं, आपको आधी बातें समझ नहीं आएंगी. When the words will come in front of you, then I will be explaining them. लेकिन आपके notes के लिए मैंने लिख के दे दिया. सबसे पहला, बोर्ड का क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है? सो बिफोर डिक्लेयरिंग फर्स्ट norm under the dividend declaration and profit remittance. The first is dividend declaration and profit remittance. Board oversight. So before declaring the dividend or remitting the profit, the board of directors of the bank must examine certain factors. What are these factors they examine? So the first is difference in classification, difference in NPA classification. If RBI inspection finds that बैंक अंडर रिपोर्टेड NPA, द बोर्ड मस्ट कंसिडर इट. तो सबसे पहला पॉइंट क्या है? तो सबसे पहला पॉइंट है, अगर बैंक डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की कैलकुलेशंस कर रहा है एंड व्हाइल मेकिंग द डिविडेंड व्हिच इज ऑट टू बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड बाय द बैंक, उस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में बैंक ने अपने जो भी डेटास शेयर किए, जो भी फिगर्स शेयर किए विद RBI realized that in those figures, RBI realized that in those figures NPA is over reported या under reported ही होगा. कोई बैंक ओवर रिपोर्ट तो करेगा क्यों? अब ये under reported का मतलब your NPA is let's say 500 crores, you are mentioning only 300 crores. Why you are mentioning it less? I'll make you clear that as well. Why bank is so clever in mentioning its NPA pretty less? उसके दो रीजन है. पहला, एनपीए कम मेंशन किया तो मार्केट में ये न्यूज जाएगी that yes, the bank is doing well, its NPAs are all time low. On the other side, while you calculate the profits which are ought to be distributed as dividend, in that case NPA is also considered, and अगर NPA ज्यादा होगा तो आपका profit distribution capacity कम होगी. I'll explain you how. Just hold your breath and try to understand the things. Second is auditor's report. Bank's board should also check the auditor's report. The board must check if the auditor has given qualified opinion. They have emphasized on the different matters. Third point is capital position. Board should check the capital position of the bank, that what is the current capital level of the bank, what is the future capital requirements of the bank, and lastly, long-term growth plans. Dividend should not harm the bank's future expansion or stability. So these four areas are examined by board by the board of directors, which include difference in NPA classification, which is identified by RBI. Second is auditor's report. Third is capital position, and fourth is long-term growth plans. Now, the next point is eligibility criteria. Now, you must be saying, sir, abhi to aapne bataya that this law is applicable on public sector banks, private banks, foreign banks with setting up their branches in India. I agree to that. It is applicable on all these banks, but it is not applicable on every bank falling in this category. If you want to distribute your dividend, you must be strong enough. Then only you should distribute the dividend, and let's check that whether you are strong enough or not. Then only you will be eligible. Then only you will be allowed to distribute your dividend. How come? A bank can declare the dividend or bank can remit profit only if it satisfies the following conditions. First one, bank should have fulfilled its capital adequacy norms. Capital adequacy norms means capital adequacy ratio. We all know that according to Basel norm, bank should maintain at least 8% as capital adequacy ratio. As per RBI, bank should maintain minimum capital adequacy ratio of 9%. So bank must meet the regulatory capital requirements at the end of previous financial year as well as for the current financial year. तो अगर बैंक अपने capital adequacy ratios को, अपने कैपिटल बफर्स को, चाहे वो कैपिटल कंजर्वेशन बफर है, चाहे वो काउंटर साइक्लिकल कैपिटल बफर है, अगर वो उन बफर्स को अलॉन्ग विद दैट दीज एडिक्वेसी रेशियोज को फुलफिल कर रहा है एट द एंड ऑफ द प्रीवियस ईयर एज वेल एज इन द करंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर, देन यू आर एलिजिबल. दिस इज द फर्स्ट कंडीशन. Second condition to be eligible is capital should remain adequate even after distribution of dividend. अगर आपने dividend distribute कर भी दिया, still bank should have adequate amount of capital which can be utilized by the bank to stand strong in the tough times. Third is positive adjusted profit after tax. अब सर ये है एक प्रॉब्लम जो हमें समझनी चाहिए. What is this problem all about? See, I have already explained you profit after tax. Say yes or no. मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया ना आपको what is profit after tax, but now I have a new term which says profit, adjusted profit after tax. Now the question is, what do you understand by the word adjusted profit after tax? So my answer to this particular question is, sir, the adjusted profit after tax. Anybody out there who are live with me, सुना आपने इसके बारे में, पढ़ा कहीं आपने इसके बारे में? It's very interesting, it's very important, मजा आएगा. आप एक बार मुझे बता दो अगर पढ़ा तो सही है, नहीं तो मैं तो समझाऊंगा. It's my duty, I will be explaining it in much detail. लेकिन अगर किसी ने पढ़ा होगा तो उसकी जो क्लैरिटी थी related to adjusted profit after tax, I'm pretty sure that you must have not been clear with the topic when you have read it. But now when I will be taking an example to explain you this, it will be crystal clear. Are we ready? Are we ready to discuss an example on this? So let's try it. So profit after tax and adjusted profit after tax, what is the difference? So adjusted profit after tax means profit after tax minus 50% of net NPA. 50% of net NPA. मतलब क्या हुआ? We all know non-performing assets. So these are the assets against which bank is not receiving principal or interest or both for last 90 days. Bank declare it as NPA. And in case of agriculture loan, it's quite different. The criteria of 90 days, and for cash credit accounts or overdraft account, 90 days are same, but the criteria is different. So when the loan is declared as NPA, every bank is asked by RBI to maintain certain provisioning Certain provisioning means the bank maintains certain funds, or bank keeps certain funds aside. Bank keeps certain funds aside to counter the losses due to NPA in the near future. We call it as provisioning. So the total NPA of the bank is known as gross NPA, out of which we subtract the provisioning which is done by the bank, the funds which are kept aside by the bank to fight against these gross NPAs. We receive a term that is net NPA. अब question ये है कि sir, how this calculation is going to be done? I'm really very sorry, there's no electricity, so I have just switched off my camera, but I will be explaining you the concept, so don't worry. तो हमने calculate किया net NPA. अब RBI क्या कहता है? Adjusted profit after tax should be profit after tax minus 50% of net NPA. Now, what is this 50% of net NPA point which has been discussed over here? 50% of the net NPA, what we will be talking about, so it is basically whatsoever bank has its net NPA, uska 50% you subtract from your profit after tax, and left out profit will be allowed to be distributed. If you allow me, I'll take an example. My example says that a bank's profit after tax is 10,000 crores. ठीक है जी, बैंक का जो profit after tax है that is 10,000 crores. बैंक के जो gross NPAs है that are 8,000 crores. बैंक के जो provisioning है, the provisioning which is made by the bank against it, so that is 3,000 crores. ठीक है. Now the question is, what will be adjusted profit after tax which you can distribute? So the adjusted profit after tax which you can distribute is profit after tax kitna? 10,000 crores. Out of this you subtract 50% of net NPA. What is net NPA? Gross NPA minus provisioning. So 8,000 crore, 8,000 crore minus 3,000 crore, it gives me 5,000 crore. So 10,000 crore minus 50% of 5,000 crore, it gives me the value of 2,500 crores. So 2,500 crores में कितना बचा? That is 7,500 crores only. This is how you calculate adjusted profit after tax. बोलो clear है? Is it clear everybody? So you are not allowed to distribute your profit after tax. You are allowed only and only to distribute adjusted profit after tax. Adjusted profit after tax. If it is clear, give me a thumbs up. Chalo. Now, the fourth point in the same is foreign banks. So if a foreign banks, they are operating as branches in the country, they must have positive profit after tax so that they can remit profit. अगर उनका profit after tax positive ही नहीं है, यहाँ पे क्या था? Banks must have positive adjusted profit after tax, but for the foreign banks, if they have adjusted profit after tax, if they have positive profit after tax, they can remit their profit to their head office which is outside India. That is allowed. The bank must not be under any restrictions imposed by RBI or other authorities. मतलब एक simple example, अगर मान लो बैंक PCA category में है, if bank is under the PCA category and as per the PCA implementation, bank witness a restriction on its dividend distribution. So in that particular case, even if bank fulfill all the eligibility criteria, first, second, third and fourth, but if bank do not fulfill the fifth criteria, then also bank will not be allowed to distribute the dividend because you are under PCA, that is prompt corrective action, and as per the threshold limits, you are not allowed to distribute your dividend. So that is a condition on you. Clear हो गया? Next. The next is quantum of dividend for Indian banks. Quantum का मतलब how much dividend should be paid. How much dividend should be paid मतलब मैंने आपको बताया था कि बैंक will not pay entire its profit after tax. तो RBI कहता नहीं सर, प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स तो भूल ही जाओ. प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स में भी you have to subtract 50% of net NPA. You get adjusted profit after tax, and adjusted profit after tax will also not be allowed for every bank, or there will be there will be no, I would say, clear-cut permission to every bank that you can distribute your 100% profit after tax or adjusted profit after tax. It will depend on your current capital scenario. अगर आपके पास capital अच्छा खासा है, if you have good amount of capital, then you can distribute 100% of the adjusted profit after tax. And if your capital is all time low, then we will not allow you to distribute the profit. Rather, we'll ask you कि भैया जो profit distribute करना चाह रहे हो उसे reserve कर लो, और reserve करोगे, that reserve will become the part of equity tier 1 capital, and your equity tier 1 capital will increase, and it will help you to achieve your capital adequacy ratios, as well as it will help you to maintain the desired common equity tier 1 capital ratios as well. ठीक है जी, clear हो गई ये बात, समझ आया? Moving on to this. So if the capital equity tier 1 capital is low, no dividend will be allowed. If it is high, then you can go for the dividend. So 0 to 100% of the adjusted PAT can be your dividend distribution, but there is a condition. Banks cannot pay more than 75% of its total, not adjusted, total profit after tax as dividend. Total profit after tax as dividend. तो अगर आप यहाँ पे इस क्वेश्चन में ध्यान से देखें, total profit after tax is 10,000 crores, 75% limit is what? 7,500 crores. So this is the overall limit, and when we calculate the adjusted profit after tax, it comes out to be 7,500 crores. So in both the cases, bank is not allowed to distribute more than 7,500 crores. Now let's suppose bank का जो gross NPA था, it was 5,000 crores. I'm just taking an example. If the gross NPA is 5,000 crores, what will be the bank's net NPA? The bank का net NPA will be 2,000 crores. 50% of 2,000 crores will be what value? So that is 1,000 crores. तो यहाँ पे जो adjusted profit after tax निकल के आएगा वो कितना होगा? 9,000 crore. You cannot distribute 100% of adjusted profit after tax, even if your capital is strong, even if your equity tier 1 capital ratio is strong, it even allows you to distribute 100%. You cannot do that. Regardless of the fact that you are eligible under 100%, because overall cap is 75% of profit after tax, which is 7,500 crores. समझ आई ये बात? भले आपका बैंक 9,000 करोड़ डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है, भले आपके बैंक को 100% डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करने की पावर है, लेकिन आप तब भी नहीं कर पाओगे क्योंकि जो ओवरऑल कैप है दैट इज 75%, बिकॉज द ओवरऑल कैप इज 75%. बोलो क्लियर हुआ? समझ आ रहा है? इज इट क्लियर एवरीबॉडी? शैल आई मूव अहेड? May I have yes sir in the comment section? Is it clear? मजा आया? ठीक है, अब आगे बढ़ते हैं, अगले पॉइंट पे चलते हैं. अगला पॉइंट क्या कहता है? अगला पॉइंट कहता है कि सर अभी मैं आपके सामने एक टेबल प्रेजेंट करूंगा, उस टेबल में एक टर्म होगी Z. I'll talk about this Z later on. तो टेबल क्या है? This is the point. Equity tier 1 capital dividend bucket under 2026 prudential norms which are issued by RBI. It says what? It says that अगर बैंक के पास, if bank is having tier 1 capital, if bank is having equity tier 1 capital up to 8%, if your bank's tier 1 capital is up to 8%, then you are allowed to distribute 0% dividend. Why 0% dividend? Because in India, bare minimum requirement is 9%. In India, the bare minimum requirement is 9%. और अगर आपके पास capital adequacy ratio ही complete नहीं हुआ, in that particular case, RBI says that you are not allowed to distribute the dividend. Rather, उस dividend को save करो, reserve में लाओ. Reserves will be the part of equity tier 1 capital. It will increase this ratio. So what is this ratio all about? So this is the ratio which we calculate for the equity tier 1 capital. Second is, if the ratio is between 8 to 10%, then you can distribute 20% of your adjusted profit after tax. If it is 10 to 12%, 30%, 12 to 14%, 40, 14 to 16, 50, 16 to 17, 60, 17 to 18, 70%, 18 to 19, 80%, 19 to 20, 90%. अगर 20% से ज़्यादा है, then it is 100%. ठीक है, सिंपल है. एक % they are increasing the range till this point. If you see 50% तक the range has been increased for 2% each, 8%, 8 से 10, 10 से 12, 12 से 14, 14 से 16, 50% तक आए। फिर 50 के बाद 16, 17, 10% इंक्रीज होगा, 17 से 18, 10%। तो ऐसे करते करते ये याद करना आसान है। तो क्वेश्चन आया कि सर ये जो साथ में आपने Z लिखा है, ये Z लिखा है, इसका क्या मतलब है? आपको याद है DSIB, domestic systematically important banks like SBI, ICICI, as well as HDFC Bank. So if you remember, these are the banks which are called as too big to fail, and in order to assure that they should be too big to fail, RBI say them, or RBI ask them that the overall capital adequacy requirement, let's say for the entire country bank is 9%, for the entire country's banks is 9%, but for you it will be 9% plus, I'm just taking an example, 9% plus 1%. So this Z is basically that 1%, which is the extra capital requirement DSIBs have to maintain. Extra capital requirements which these DSIBs have to maintain. बोलो क्लियर है? बोलो क्लियर है? तो ये जो Z है या Z है, that is the extra I would say tier 1 capital requirements or extra capital requirements which you have to maintain as per the RBI norms. क्लियर हो गया जी? चला मूव अहेड, चला गो टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट। तो ये जो परसेंटेज है, यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस परसेंटेज। डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड ऑन द सेम, डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड ऑन द सेम। एक क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करें। शैल वी सॉल्व a question, a practical kind of numerical type of question, ताकि आपको ये पॉइंट और ज्यादा क्लियर हो जाए। Are you ready for that? Guys, are you ready for that? ठीक है, एक क्वेश्चन मैं आपके लिए सॉल्व कर रहा हूं, ध्यान से देखना। इस क्वेश्चन के बाद जो भी थोड़े बहुत आपके दिमाग में शायद अभी भी डाउट्स होंगे वो क्लियर हो जाएंगे। अगर मैं उस क्वेश्चन की बात करूं तो वो क्वेश्चन क्या कहता है? क्वेश्चन ये कहता है कि सर सेम क्वेश्चन की बात कर रहा हूं। बैंक का जो प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स है दैट इज 10,000 करोड़, दैट इज 10,000 करोड़। उसके साथ साथ जो ग्रॉस एनपीए है, लेट्स से दैट इज 8,000 करोड़, और जो प्रोविजनिंग है लेट्स से दैट इज 3,000 करोड़। तो उसके हिसाब से जो नेट एनपीए निकल के आया वो कितना हो गया सर? तो नेट एनपीए जो हमारे पास आया दैट इज 5,000 करोड़, और नेट एनपीए का 50% कितना हो गया सर? 2,500 करोड़। बट करंटली दिस बैंक विच वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, दिस बैंक हैज इक्विटी टीयर 1 कैपिटल रेशियो ऑफ 13%। इस बैंक का जो इक्विटी टीयर 1 कैपिटल रेशियो है दैट इज 13%। अब 13% का मतलब क्या हुआ? तो 13% का मतलब हुआ ये रेंज 12 to 14, ये रेंज का मतलब कितना परसेंट? 40%। सो इसका मतलब ये है, व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट द एडजस्टेड प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स इट कम्स आउट टू बी 10,000 करोड़ minus 50% of net NPA, and 50% of net NPA is what? So that is 2,500 crores. तो वहां से जो हमारा आंसर निकल के आया that is 7,500 crores, but you are not allowed to distribute 7,500 crores because you are holding equity tier 1 capital ratio as 13%, so it should be 40% payout, 40% of adjusted profit after tax. तो यहाँ पे देखो 40% of adjusted profit after tax, तो यहाँ पे 7,500 crore is your प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स, उसका 40% यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट। तो कैलकुलेट कर लेना, जो भी आंसर आए दैट विल बी योर आंसर। इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, आंसर आना चाहिए 3,000 करोड़, है ना? द आंसर शुड बी 3,000 करोड़। एक क्वेश्चन किसी ने मुझसे पूछा, आई वुड लव टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन। शायद मैंने गलत बोल दिया या आपने गलत समझ लिया या जो भी हुआ, एक पॉइंट है जो मैं क्लियर कर देता हूं। व्हेन वी से कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी रेशियो, इट इज बेसिकली टीयर 1 capital plus adjusted tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital divided by risk weighted asset that should be greater than equal to 9% as per RBI, and it should be 8% as per Basel norms. It should be 8% as per Basel norms. है ना? सही है? Is it yes or no? यहाँ तो कोई दिक्कत? ठीक. अब इसमें भी अगर हम बात करें RBI के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, this is ought to be 5.5%. What is this 5.5%? So this is common equity tier 1 capital divided by RWA. It should be greater than or equals to 5.5%. अब ये जो आपकी कॉमन इक्विटी टीयर 1 कैपिटल है, व्हाट इट इंक्लूड्स? सो दिस कॉमन टीयर 1 कैपिटल इंक्लूड्स योर कॉमन शेयर्स which are issued by the bank. It includes stock surplus as well as it includes your share premium, whatsoever premium you have earned while issuing the shares. It include retained earnings. And then we have accumulated income as well as statutory reserves. They are the part of this. तो यहाँ पे ये जो 8% का criteria है, this 8% of criteria is for only tier 1 capital, not for overall capital. Are you getting my point? दीपक, I guess now it is clear. तो ये जो शायद मैंने गलत बोल दिया या शायद गलत समझ लिया आपने, ये है एज पर बेसल नॉर्म्स. बट अगर मैं एलिजिबिलिटी की बात करूं, बेसल नॉर्म कहता है बस इतना ही चाहिए. बट अब अगर आप डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना चाहते हैं तो डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में फॉर डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कॉमन इक्विटी टीयर 1 कैपिटल रेशियो का मतलब डिवाइडेड बाय RWA शुड बी ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू 8%. अगर वो 8% से कम है, यू विल नॉट बी अलाउड टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट द डिविडेंड. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया? मजा आ गया? डू हिट द लाइक बटन इफ यू हैवंट लाइक द सेशन येट. ठीक है, मुझे लगता है अब कोई दिक्कत, कोई परेशानी नहीं है. कैलकुलेशन भी करा दी, अब तो कोई प्रॉब्लम होनी नहीं चाहिए. अब बेसिक सी बातें बची हैं, 5 मिनट लगेंगे, खत्म कर लेते हैं. अब पॉइंट आता है फॉर द रेमिटेंस ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स by the foreign banks. So foreign banks operating in India through their branches, they will be remitting the profit to their head offices only if they meet the eligibility criteria as discussed, only if their accounts are audited. They do not need any prior approval if they are eligible. However, if the excess profit is remitted, the head office must return it. If you are remitting the excess profit, तो भैया head office वापस देगा, ये condition है. लेकिन there are some profits which are not allowed to be distributed. Some profits which are not allowed to be distributed, which are not allowed to be included while calculating the dividend distribution, that is extraordinary. That is extraordinary income we say, extraordinary profit we say. अगर मैं बताऊं तो मैंने वो स्टार्टिंग में जब definitions वाला पार्ट था वहां पे मैंने लिख दी है definition. Extraordinary profit means unusual or one-time income. I mean to say unusual और वन टाइम इनकम. अब अनयूजुअल और वन टाइम इनकम कहां से आएगी? सो फॉर एग्जांपल सेल ऑफ असेट्स, बैंक ने अपनी ब्रांच बेच दी, सेल ऑफ असेट्स, या फिर वन टाइम गेन्स, बैंक को कोई एक बहुत बड़ा गेन हुआ. तो ये जो रेगुलर प्रॉफिट्स नहीं है, रेगुलर इनकम नहीं है, दे आर नोन एज एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी इनकम्स एंड दे आर नॉट इंक्लूडेड अंडर डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. दे आर नॉट इंक्लूडेड as adjusted profit after tax part while you were calculating the dividend distribution. Second is overstated profit detected by auditors. If the auditor states that profit after tax is overstated, आपने ज्यादा बता दिया, that portion cannot be used. For example, आपने कहा बैंक ने रिपोर्ट किया my adjusted या profit after tax is 10,000 crores, but बाद में समझ आया it is not 10,000 crore, actually it is 8,000 crore. Bank has overstated it. So this 2,000 crore which has been overstated, that cannot be utilized for dividend distribution. Next is bank cannot distribute profits arising from fair valuation of gains of level 3 instruments. Have you heard this level 3 instruments, guys? Anybody? Have you heard this term level 3 instruments? Actually we have 3 types of instruments: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 instruments are those financial assets that have a clear and observable market price in an active market. I repeat, Level 1 instruments are those instruments or those financial assets that have clear and easily observable market price in the active market. For example, it includes the shares which are listed in the companies which are traded on the stock exchanges. Then we have level 2. Level 2 financial instrument means those instruments that do not have market price, but their value can still be estimated using observable market. For example, it includes certain corporate bonds that are not frequently traded, interest swaps, and some other derivatives which are not frequently traded, but still पहले जब उनको ट्रेड किया गया था उनके बेसिस पे उनका कहीं ना कहीं वैल्यूएशन निकाला जा सकता है. Their value can be calculated. What is level 3? So level 3 instruments are the most complex and difficult to value instruments. These assets, they do not have market price. They cannot have observable market inputs available to their estimated value. For example, they include complex derivatives, structured financial products, private equity investment, and certain securitized assets. For example, किसी कंपनी ने अपने शेयर्स बेचे. हम हमेशा कहते हैं that the company has issued its shares, है ना, या फिर एक प्राइवेट कंपनी को दूसरी प्राइवेट कंपनी ने खरीद लिया at a valuation which is not defined, at a valuation which is not disclosed, at an undisclosed value. तो ये सब undisclosed values क्या हैं? So these are the values of the private equities which are not disclosed. So they fall under level 3. So level 3 includes what? The most complex financial assets in terms of their value calculations, which include complex derivatives, private equity instruments, structured financial products, and certain securitized assets. So agar coming back to the news, it says bank cannot distribute profit which they have received from the increase in value of level 3 financial instruments. Level 3 financial instruments. Next is, you cannot distribute the profit which you have arise from reversal of provisions. Reversal of provision का मतलब, for example, today bank's gross NPA is 8,000 करोड़. अभी बस NPA लोन डिक्लेयर ही हुआ था. इतनी देर में जो कस्टमर है वो वापस आया और कस्टमर ने कहा सर लेट्स रीस्ट्रक्चर इट, लेट्स सेटल इट, जो भी है. तो जैसे इसे सेटल या रीस्ट्रक्चर करने की बारी आई, जो प्रोविजनिंग इस लोन के अगेंस्ट की गई थी, लेट्स से दैट वाज 3,000 crores. Now this provisioning which has been done of value 3,000 crores, it will be a kind of excess funds for the bank. क्योंकि भैया ये ग्रॉस एनपीए जो था, अब वो एनपीए रहा ही नहीं, अब तो उसमें एनपीए का टाइटल ही खत्म हो गया, अब तो इट इज नो मोर एन एनपीए. तो ये जो आपकी प्रोविजनिंग है, ये जो आपके रिजर्व्स है, दीज आर एक्सेस फंड्स, एंड दीज एक्सेस फंड्स विल बी एडेड और दे विल बी इंक्लूडेड एज योर, और दे विल बी ट्रीटेड एज योर प्रॉफिट. तो दे कैन बी treated as the profit, but they cannot be used for calculation of dividend payouts. They cannot be used for the distribution of dividend payouts. Is this point clear? Is this point clear, everybody? Is this point clear? समझ आ गया ना कि भैया जो प्रॉफिट आपने कमाया है वो प्रॉफिट एक्चुअली प्रॉफिट नहीं था, वो तो रिजर्व्स आपने रखे थे, इस बार काम नहीं आए तो भैया वो आपके प्रॉफिट में दिखने लगे, बट दे शुड नॉट बी इंक्लूडेड. अब बैंक है, bank has kept a provisioning of 500 crores. Later the borrower repays the part of the loan. Now the provision requiring is let's say 500 से 200 crore. तो वो जो 300 crore का difference है, that will become the part of bank's profit, but it won't be used or it won't be added for the calculation of dividend distribution. Next is, bank must report dividend payments or profit remittance to RBI. Follow the format. There has been a format given in the annexure 2 of the announcement. तो मैंने बस as it is लिख दिया, nothing to remember. Whenever a bank pays dividend, it must inform the RBI. So what bank should do? So bank should declare its dividend. Bank should declare the amount paid. Bank should also declare the profit remitted to the head office. और ये जो इसका format है to make the declaration, it is very clearly mentioned. आप check कर सकते हैं. Time limit is within 15 days of declaring dividend or remitting profits. तो जिस दिन आपने dividend declare किया या फिर remit किया profit, उसके 15 दिन के अंदर you have to inform RBI. Next is RBI's power to restrict dividend. Yes sir, RBI has the power to restrict dividend. RBI can stop or restrict dividend payment if the bank violates regulatory guidelines, if the bank is financially weak, if the bank does not meet prudential norms. So also if the bank fails the eligibility criteria, then also you will not be allowed to distribute the dividend. Then also you will not be allowed to distribute the dividend. अगर बैंक ने फिर भी डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया तो क्या होगा सर, आरबीआई पेनल्टी चार्ज करेगा, सुपरवाइजरी एक्शन होंगे, एनफोर्समेंट एक्शंस होंगे विच विल बी टेकन बाय आरबीआई. सो दिस इज हाउ वी एक्सप्लेन द एंटायर पॉइंट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. बात क्लियर हो गई, समझ आ गया. एक बार एक छोटा सा इसका कंक्लूजन देख ले 5 मिनट का. लेट्स सी अ कंक्लूजन फॉर द सेम क्वेश्चन इन 5 मिनट्स. ठीक है, तो कंक्लूजन क्या कहता है? कंक्लूजन ये कहता है कि सर बैंक जो प्रॉफिट कमाएगा, दैट इज प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स, विल नॉट बी अलाउड टू पेड एज डिविडेंड. सो इट विल बी एडजस्टेड प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स विच इज प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स माइनस 50% of net NPA. Now, adjusted profit after tax can be distributed to the shareholders from 0 to 100% value, which depends on eligibility criteria. Bank should be eligible, and eligibility criteria is कि बैंक strong होना चाहिए, dividend distribution से बैंक के कैपिटल पे फर्क नहीं पड़ना चाहिए, ये सारी चीजें. कौन कौन से बैंक्स के लिए वैलिड है? पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स, प्राइवेट बैंक्स एंड फॉरेन बैंक्स विच आर रनिंग देयर ब्रांचेस इन इंडिया. 0% कब होगा? व्हेन योर कॉमन इक्विटी टियर 1 कैपिटल इज अप टू 8%. इफ इट इज अप टू 8%, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इज 0. डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इज 0 और डिविडेंड पे आउट इज 0. एंड इफ इट इज ग्रेटर देन 20%, देन इट विल बी 100%. और उसके बीच में from 18 to 16%, it changes at every 2%. For example, 8 से 10 के बीच में है तो भैया ये कितना हो जाएगा? ये 10% हो जाएगा पे आउट्स. दिस इज 20%. इस तरह से इट विल कीप ऑन ग्रोइंग. 12, 14, 16 एंड देन फिर it will be on 17, 11%, 18, 19 and 20. ठीक है जी, this is what you need to remember. इसके अलावा कुछ points हैं, that is some of the profits which cannot be remitted: extraordinary income, overstated profit, unrealized gains and profit arising from the reversals. They are not allowed to be distributed. You must inform the RBI within 15 days of dividend announcement. ये बता देना. और ये सारी की सारी आपकी limits. As I was saying, 8 to 10, 20%, 10 to 12, 30%, 10% इंक्रीज हुआ. देन 12 to 14, 40, 14 to 16, 50. उसके बाद हर 1% पे 10% इंक्रीज हो रहा. Z टर्म जो है दैट इज रिलेटेड टू डोमेस्टिक सिस्टमैटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट बैंक्स. ओवरऑल जो लिमिटेशन है दैट इज 75% ऑफ द टोटल प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स विच कुड बी द मैक्सिमम डिविडेंड पे आउट. एलिजिबिलिटी में क्या होना चाहिए सर? एलिजिबिलिटी में पहला, कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी कंप्लायंसेस. Capital should remain adequate after dividend. Positive adjusted profit after tax. For foreign bank, it should be only positive profit after tax, and there should be no regulatory restrictions by RBI like PC and all. Then only you will be allowed to distribute. ठीक है जी, मजा आ गया, समझ आ गया? If it is clear, then give me yes sir. अब पॉइंट है कि सर होमवर्क. आज होमवर्क आई एम नॉट गिविंग फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक. माई होमवर्क इज related to few things. First one, prompt corrective action was introduced in which year? Revised recently in which year? रुक जाओ. Applicable on which all regulated entities? Next is Basel norm. Under which Basel norm capital adequacy ratio was introduced? Under which Basel norm capital conservation buffer and counter-cyclical capital buffer was introduced? Is it 1, 2 or 3? So you have 6 questions for the day. अब ये 6 questions के answers मुझे चाहिए. What is the logic behind giving you this? The logic behind giving you this is very simple. और वो logic क्या है? Logic है कि you should read prompt corrective action plus Basel norms after this session so that you have more understanding. और अगर कोई doubt आएगा तो we will be solving it. If you want कि आपके पास ये basic stats नहीं है, आपके पास ये basic conceptual understanding नहीं है, then on our platform, that is courses.examnorm.com, the link is available in the description below. My finance sessions are live, so you can join those finance sessions in the paid courses, where I don't only discuss the static portion, the conceptual portion, but also the descriptive classes are taken up. And in the descriptive classes, we solve the descriptive questions live in a class, where I help you to understand the time management. I help you to understand how to decode a question. I help you to understand how to write a structure. I help you to understand how to write the final perfect answer. What all data figures you have to include in the introduction, what all data figures you have to include in the conclusion, what should be the flow of the answer, everything is discussed in that course. So the courses are live. Do check the description below, and even there is a phone number given. If you have any doubt, you can contact us on the given number as well if you have any doubt regarding our courses. Okay, ji? Thank you so much for joining, guys. We'll catch you in the upcoming sessions to go. Bye bye, take care, good luck, God bless you.